Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day you blessed us with. It's another great day. Father, we just thank you for Hendry County. We thank you for all our employees, staff, what a great job they do, and how blessed we are. Father, we thank you for our veterans that served our country, and we just pray that you'll give them good health, be with our military men and women, keep them from harm's way, and be with their families, be with our local sheriff's department, our Clewiston Police Department, fire department, EMS, keep them from harm's way. And we just thank you for their service to the county. Be with this commission as they start a new year. Just give them the wisdom they need to make decisions all through the year. And we'll give you the praise for it all. Ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Chair, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
This is a regular meeting of the Hendry County Board of County Commissioners being held on Tuesday, November 15th, 2022 at 6 p.m. in the City Commission Chambers in Clewiston, Florida. In attendance are Chairperson Emma Byrd, Vice Chair Mitchell Wills, Commissioner Darrell Harris, Commissioner Raymond Iglesias by phone, Commissioner Carson Turner, County Administrator Jennifer Davis, County Attorney Mark Latt, Clerk Kimberly Barano.
Thank you. Welcome to the County Board of Commissioner meeting. We ask that if you have a phone or any electronic device that you would mute it for me, please, or cut it off, whichever one suits you. We ask if you want to speak, there's cards up front. If you would fill out a card and give it to the clerk. The first thing, there's no bids. First thing we have is the agenda.
I move to accept consent.
Second. Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just one quick question. I wanted to ask what was the desire of the board, because we don't get to talk on item A2, both of them. The options to purchase property. What were y'all's thoughts? Jennifer, Ms. Davis, what are your thoughts?
So Shane always reviews them as well, and he didn't see any use for them.
Okay. Okay. All right. So let it ride. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Wells. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next thing we have up is awards. We're gonna pull Jesse Robinson because I was not supposed to be here, and the family will not be here today, so we're gonna hold it off until the first meeting on this side of the county. So next we have the awards for the Farm City Week. Is there anyone here?
Yeah, he's coming up. He's coming up to make a speech.
So you're more than welcome. Please state your name.
Come on up, Chair.
Yep, so my name is Jared Player. I'm the Vice President of Henry Glades County Farm Bureau and also serve on the National Young Farmers and Ranchers Committee through American Farm Bureau.
And also is a major bright shining star in this local region. So,
so just to give you a kind of brief overview of National Farm City Week, this year National Farm City Week will be observed from November 16th through the 23rd. This annual event is marked during the week leading up to Thanksgiving. It celebrates and recognizes the beneficial partnership between rural and urban communities that make American-produced food safe and plentiful. People all over the country will celebrate farmers and ranchers through educational forums, social media campaigns, and local events. Their contribution complements the economy with jobs and provides bountiful harvests to feed the population. Farmers and ranchers benefit from urban centers through restaurants, groceries, and producers that ensure the expanded use of agricultural products. American farms promote the health of their nation, protect their environmental resources, and are at the forefront of their country's path to energy independence. It is important for the American society to continue to support the relationship between American farms and families and to ensure that farming and ranching remains an economically, socially, and environmentally sustainable way of life for future generations. National Farm City Week recognizes the innumerable contributions made by farmers and ranchers in the U.S. to the health and well-being of their country.
So what he just read, thank you, was the proclamation. So now, therefore, the Henry County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim that on behalf of the citizens and jurisdiction, great honor and appreciation to all the regional farmers, growers, ranchers, on that November the 16th through the 23rd of 2022, designated as Farm City Work, duly considered and adopted by the Board of County Commissioner of Henry County this day, 15th day of November 2020.
So
Thank-
moved.
All approved?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Harris. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much, and thank you for what
Do
you
you
do.
have one to give him?
No, is it, this not in here?
We don't have,
It's not stapled. We'll give it to you. if you-
We want to get a picture
Who's
though.
gonna
If
get a
you'll come
picture?
up, if you don't mind, if you want to walk right up
It's not.
here and, in front of the board and we'll get a picture.
I'll get it.
You'll get, okay.
Raymond,
gonna
we'll
get it to
digitize you in.
It's not, it don't have a seal on it.
That's good. That's good.
okay,
Make me thinner.
I hear you.
It don't have a seal on it.
Thank you, Fish.
Thank you so much, and thank you for all that you do. At this time, we're up for public hearings. This
we
is
got-
a, I'm sorry,
We
you
got
got
one more presentation for Ryan Purdy for broadband.
Oh, it's not on here.
I think you might need to update your,
Jennifer, I think it's only in the form of an email. It's not in the agenda notes.
It's there.
okay.
Is it? Okay.
It's under
I
B.
probably just need to update it. There it is. Thank you, sorry. Thank you.
So Ryan's got a PowerPoint presentation regarding our broadband efforts here in Hendry County and what we've been working on and what he's been working on. And we do have some providers here with us tonight as well, if you have any questions. So we'll just let him go through the presentation and you can ask questions.
Good evening, Commissioners. For the record, Ryan Purdy, IT Director for Hendry County and local broadband team leader for Hendry County. Just wanted to talk a little bit about broadband, some of our efforts that we have worked on over the past few years with trying to identify where our gaps, our broadband footprint, first of all, and then also identifying any gaps where we have areas of unserved or underserved households within Hendry County. So we were awarded a DEO grant back in 2019, and we went out to RFP, and that RFP was awarded to Magellan Advisors to conduct a comprehensive broadband feasibility study. And so we completed that report last year, and one of the big highlights from the feasibility study was that one of the biggest issues that Magellan found within Hendry County after seeking out stakeholders both in public and private sectors is that due to our demographics, they didn't see that we were economically feasible for most private for-profit internet service providers to come in and provide service throughout Hendry County. Mostly because we have a lot of unincorporated areas that the demographics just don't meet their return on investment to bring something like a fiber-based internet solution or even a wireless-based internet solution out to these areas. And so the exception to that would be grant funding. If we could get a hold of some grant funding opportunities, that would be an exception. They feel like we would have sufficient opportunity to bring broadband into Hendry County if we had some grant funds. One of the recommendations that they made to us, there was a formal 10-step plan, but the biggest was to implement a local broadband planning team. Basically, some local stakeholders that would identify both short-term and long-term strategic vision and plan for how broadband should look within Hendry County, how we procure, how we plan, how we deploy, how we seek public-private partnerships, things of that nature. And so After a planning team was identified and established, they recommended looking at some type of proof of concept where we could leverage fixed wireless or a hybrid wireless solution to get real deep into some of the pockets that we have within Hendry County where there might be one or two homes that are a couple miles apart, and it doesn't make sense for a private provider to come in and spend $100,000 to bring internet to one or two homes. And with the long-term idea of expanding that wireless solution into a high-level design of a fiber network, and also to look at grant funding where we could. So bringing us to this year, we established a formal Hendry County local planning team in May of this year. We've been working kind of lockstep with the Florida DEO and the Office of Broadband, along with local planning teams from neighboring counties. And for the most part, there's participation from all 67 counties within the state, with a high-level plan to establish strategic plans within regions, whether they're per county, whether they're regional approaches, but just to increase the use of broadband. And they're not talking about what you'd consider like a middle mile network to where you're just running fiber from point A to point B like an extension cord. They're talking about actually getting households, getting residents, getting businesses connected, so we can close this digital divide that we're experiencing with some of the post-COVID challenges, working from home, telemedicine, homes, and everything that you all are well aware of. And so part of establishing a local planning team and working with the DEO is to start taking advantage of some of the funding opportunities that are coming, that are here now and that are coming in the near future. Specifically, and what we're going to talk about here in a second is Broadband Opportunity Program, which is what we are in the middle of an opportunity for grant funding, and it's $400 million. So the Broadband Opportunity Program is $400 million that are set aside for the state of Florida. There's a certain amount of funds that are earmarked for rural communities. And so back in August of this year, there was a rulemaking session that took place up in Glades County. We had local planning team members present. This grant is specifically for unserved areas. So it's areas within Hendry County that the FCC looks at as there is no incumbent service provider, there is no broadband service provider in these areas. And the feedback that we got from these rulemaking sessions was that a lot of the larger providers, the incumbents for these areas, Comcast, AT&T, Lumen, Crown Castle, is that they could provide fiber, middle mile fiber, to most areas except for where we're talking about sparse rural or rural, Hendry County. A lot of the areas that we live in here and we have our residents still, experience day in and day out with, we're a rural community. And so that was
Ryan, I have to cut you off. I need clarification. So they're saying that bullet point, large providers, fill in the blank, they could essentially provide fiber to most areas except Hendry County, Glades County? Or are they saying they could provide to Hendry and Glades, but just not like Flaghole or Alico,
Yeah.
cow pens?
So the term that they used was sparse rural, but really what that means is that we have a Comcast presence, or we have a CenturyLink presence in some of these communities, very close. Like if we're talking Pioneer or Ladika, they just don't see the demographics to make any further investment in taking what's there and doing anything with it.
Okay.
I had
So essentially, the baseline is what it is, and they're not going to do any more.
Correct, and
Okay.
those were some of the challenges that were highlighted during the feasibility study, and something that we as a local planning team dealt with directly, because we would have conversation with Comcast or with Lumen, and they'll say, well, we have plans in Lee County, or we're doing this and that in the Cape, but we just don't have the demographics. We're not even going to submit for a project. And so it's a lot of what we've been experiencing up until this point is that they just don't want to come to the table because they can't get their return. And so on the flip side to that, small providers, specifically, and we have a gentleman in the audience that he's the president of Streamline. They're based out of Golden Gate, and they dealt with a lot of the challenges that we're dealing with in some of the rural areas within Golden Gate.
I mean, Golden Gate is exactly, I mean, it's a younger version of what we are.
And so they were present, Lou was present at the rulemaking session, and he said that they presented that they could provide a hybrid fiber wireless network to sparse communities, that it was not an issue. That's their bread and butter. That's what they deal with in Collier County. They actually, I was impressed with the turn-up time that they were able to get households connected out in Glades, where, I mean, I grew up very close to that area down there, and I know that there's been very similar situations up here that nobody just wants to come in and make the investment. And I think he turned the majority of Golden Gate up in a matter of 6 months, 4 to 6 months.
So you know where all the areas is located in Henry County?
Yes, sir. So there's data that we have from the FCC that says these are the areas that are either unserved or underserved. There's a lot of pushback to that data, and we specifically uncovered some of this during the feasibility study, because there's areas like in Riverbend where, according to the FCC, it is a served community. There is broadband available, but we have speed tests that show that it is nowhere near a served community. It's not even underserved. It is considered unserved.
So who pushed back, Ryan? FCC or the big players?
No, so if we're talking specifically with these speed tests or these results,
Yes.
You're either unserved, underserved, or you're served. These are very old maps from the FCC that also incorporate things like satellite internet,
Yeah.
which in most cases is not even usable. And so one of the things that we're working on now with the DEO and with other partners is to come up with new data. And so we have given them our feasibility study. They have a copy of all of our data where it shows that there's served areas that are in fact unserved. But we're in the process of trying to get that data corrected. So when these upcoming grants, and I'll talk about it here in a second, but when we start talking about these BEAD programs and these capital project for broadband, the plan is to have a minimum of 10% participation from a specific county.
10% of the populace?
10% of the populace that takes part in a speed test survey that shows at my residence or my business, this is what speed I have. And based on that proof, we're going to update these FCC maps. And now these areas that are currently showing served may now be underserved or unserved. And so right now, the things that we've been working on with the planning team, we've had radio advertisements, we've been working with the EDC.
What percentage are we at right now, Lou?
We're at about 2.5, but it is not, there's no deadline with this. It's just gonna be something that helps us in the future. But the thing that we have that a lot of other counties don't, is we have this data backing from our feasibility study, because we did this slow crawl throughout all pockets of Hendry County where we got a lot of this data. And so we're one of the ones that are coming to the table and say, look, this data is not 100% correct. And so
what happens if you do receive the grant?
So I'll get to that in just 1 second.
Hey, Ryan, real quick. So we're at 2.85% participation.
Yes, sir.
Based on scoring, if you were to fill out the application now and turn it in, I don't know, I think we're like at a 2-week window. Where do you think we would score if we're so far below the 10%? How many points are we getting just for participation?
Yeah, so a lot of that is going to be based on if you are challenging areas that the FCC shows as served. So if it is an unserved area, and that's specifically where this broadband opportunity program is, that 10% threshold, which is something that the DEO wants to meet, is not going to be an issue with this. The other thing is that if we find areas that we can either prove or we believe are unserved or underserved, or whatever the situation is, we can actually get letters of community support. And we've been doing some of those crawls through Facebook groups and saying, hey, what's happening in LaBelle? Are you all that are in these specific areas that show as high-speed internet, are you getting these results? And so there's certain things that we can do if there's a big discrepancy, but ultimately that goal, and that's what we're gonna be focusing on more, is trying to get that participation rate much higher than what it currently is. And we actually have a call this week with the DEO to talk about that. I don't see it as an issue with this particular round of funding. It's something that we're definitely going to want in the future, because accuracy is everything. I mean, it's been a bit of an uphill battle to try to challenge the FCC and say, hey, this is not exactly what it is, but at least the FCC acknowledges that data is wrong. It's going to be a little bit of a corrective action to get it all where it needs to be.
How old is the data?
The data has to be very old because the FCC defines broadband as 25 meg download and 3 meg upload.
But I mean, that's common though, Ms. Bird, and it's not any knock on staff. It's the finite resources that we have and our ability to attack these studies that are on the books for us. And take our FEMA study. Our FEMA maps, I think were 1970 something, like 75 or 79. Everybody and their dog was paying flood insurance, and we had like 4 homes that had flooded throughout the history of the county or something, some astronomically low number. We had to challenge those, but even when we challenged those maps internally, we we didn't have the staff to throw at it. Whereas Palm Beach County, they took all of South Bay, Belglade, Pahokee, and overnight put them into the FEMA flood zone. People had to pay for X number of dollars onto their mortgage. Some people were almost losing their homes because their flood insurance went up overnight, and they were living on the tow ditch. I mean, they were literally living on that side of Lake Okeechobee, so they were the most exposed people on the planet as far as Florida is concerned. But Palm Beach County was able to hire a consultant because they just spent, $1 million, $1.5 million. They blinked their eyes and they do it. The consultant fought those data points, and it all went away. The Department of Health, remember when Judy came to court about how to coronary because we got a bill overnight that said we had to pay X number of dollars because they challenged our per capita Medicaid. So I mean, we have a number of issues like this that it's our ability to devote staff and energy and money towards that to be able to fight the medicine or prescription that we're being given. Ryan, I'd like to ask you, you got a big old PowerPoint presentation here. What do you want from us tonight moving forward, or do you want us to just hold tight for right now?
So the specific ask tonight would be, we as a local planning team have spoken, I'll go to this slide, with the following providers. And so any of the major providers that you know of, along with a lot of smaller providers, we have spoken with them, sometimes at length, sometimes they've presented specific strategic approaches for how they will tackle this issue in Hendry County. And so the ask from us tonight, and that would be from me acting as a local planning team lead, would be recommendation, and I don't know if it would be something that you all would sign, or if we could seek permission as a local planning team to provide a community letter of support to a provider that they would submit to the DEO. And one of the big pieces to this broadband opportunity program is to be working not only with the local planning team, but to get a community letter of support from that planning team that says, hey, you are in line with our strategic vision on, Hendry County. We are not Palm Beach County. We have our specific challenges on how to meet a certain need and how to connect these households that are unserved. And so
We are not able to apply ourselves, correct?
correct.
You wanna
So part of this, the rules that were established that last month for this $400 million is that no government can directly or indirectly receive these funds. And so there is no limit for the amount of projects that an applicant can apply for within a county. But per project, it's up to $5 million, and if it's private funds, there's no match. And so if we as a county were to put any type of matching funds into a project, it would be 50% match up to $5 million.
Would the grant be
Yes, sir, for
considered
this-
matching funds?
For this grant, but it was very, it was very well articulated by the DEO that they want private providers because we as a county cannot come in and provide internet service. There's certain things that
That's
we
not our
can do.
job.
That's not our job. And plus, this grant is specifically for unserved areas, and it's for what you'd consider the last mile instead of the middle mile. So this is actually connecting homes to the internet, to broadband. And so our recommendation, this gentleman is actually in the audience from Streamline Internet out of Golden Gate. He presented to our local planning team. Jennifer was part of that discussion. His plan for this grant, which is, the grant opened November 2nd and it closes December 2nd. So his plan would be applied for 2 to 3 projects within Hendry County to provide broadband to approximately 80% of the unserved areas within Hendry County with the initial first round of grant funds that are available.
Who writes the grant?
So the private entity would write the grant. We would provide a letter of community support.
You already have a grant writer?
Yes.
Okay.
And so that would be the specific ask from the local planning team, is to allow the local planning team to make 1 or more recommendations. We have, out of the list of 8 to 10 providers that we spoke with, there was 2 that requested support from us. It was Lou from Streamline Internet and then also Glades Electric. You may have read recently that they have recently partnered with the internet provider Connexon. They are providing internet services part of that project to 3,900 homes in Hendry. I spoke with their PIO today, and they plan to apply for a few more. It's going to be 1 project, but it's going to be specifically within the Montero, Pioneer, and Ladika areas where they have a footprint.
Ryan, but that's just going to add redundancy, right? It's not going to take anything away.
And I wanted to keep it apples to apples in terms of percentage of coverages, because you can get lost in a lot of the different ways to approach this. With that approach, if we look at Connexon / Glades Electric, it would be approximately 25 to 30% of unserved areas that would be covered this initial round. And with Streamline, it would be 79, 80, right around 80% that initial round. And so in line with our feasibility study of, this is based on our 10-month recommendation as a result of doing due diligence with where these gaps exist within Hendry County, it's exactly what they recommended. What Magellan recommended was a hybrid wireless / fiber approach, so you can get more people connected and get them connected right away. I mean, the deadline for this grant is to have
And
about 2 years.
you need to run for office, because that was the most convoluted answer. So yes, we can have both, and it's not gonna hurt our application, or no, we should not, and we should pick Connexon, Glades Electric, or this gentleman here.
So
I'm hoping you're saying yes to both.
we can support both.
Okay,
Where my
hesitation?
I guess hesitation, if you will.
You do not want to
So-
use that word.
So, well, I'll just put it out there.
Okay.
So there's a certain amount of funds that are earmarked for rural communities.
Okay,
The way that we've kind of broken this down and in talks with the DEO and the Florida Office of Broadband, it seems like if there's large participation, which there is, that there's gonna be approximately $10 to $12 million available per county. And so with that in mind, if the max award per project is $5 million, what we don't wanna do is go with a provider that is planning on submitting 4 or 5 projects that are $5 million apiece, and then they now have a $20 million ask. When you have another provider that may be able to cover 80% of the county with $1 million. So that's where my hesitation is that we
Okay.
kind of need to be, and I've got those figures. So the Glades Electric approach, their funding ask to the DEO is gonna be $5 million with a $5 million match. So with that in mind, I think that we can make 2 recommendations. We can recommend both, so there's the competitive nature of having multiple providers that are here in Hendry County. They want to do business. They want to get our residents and our businesses connected with broadband. And we're not going with a single approach to where if there was some unknown circumstance to where a project was not funded, that there is no backup.
Well, Ryan, the only reason I'm so adamant about submitting for both is because I know, I can name, without even thinking, I can name 6 companies, ours is included, that has Comcast and CenturyLink, and we're still down, you know, relatively often.
That would be my
And so
recommendation.
I think we need redundancy as much as we can. So okay, so do we need this in the form of a motion? Or is this just direction to, and let y'all bring it back?
We wanted direction, permission to write a letter of recommendation for the.
I'm
project
so moved.
application.
Because it's 2 letters of recommendation, I think, though.
Correct,
Yeah.
and we already have we have the letter from Glades Electric, and this is common with other local planning teams to where the local planning team leader is signing it, and they submit that as part of the grant application. But because there is a 4-week window with this, all these grants are, all these
Stacking up.
applications are stacking up. There is no time preference to when these are submitted. And so if we're able to do this tonight, I can turn around tomorrow and we can provide these letters of support, and then we're in the
We're
bucket.
in the queue.
And so
Okay.
we have a follow-up meeting with the DEO on Thursday, so if there's any questions regarding the process, anything that we have not looked at, we can give a second glance at, but this is the recommendation from the local planning team, and also this is the approach that the DEO is suggesting that we take, and utilize private dollars for this.
All right, the only thing I would add, Ms. Bird, and I would just, please, in 3 minutes or less, have you personally had any conversation with your counterpart, the person that would represent what you represent for Hendry County, with the Seminole Tribe of Florida in any way, shape, or form?
No.
Okay,
Not with the
so not changing any dynamics of this conversation, I would just challenge you to have that conversation, because I know that there's a lot of movement right now with them on trying to have connectivity between Hollywood, BC, and Brighton, and I just think that would run right up, and now it adds a third potential, operator in the discussion. And I just think you need to know that person anyway, because it's been amazing listening to some of their conversations and the resources they have at their fingertips and the knowledge that they have as well. It's frightening.
I
So,
will reach out to them personally, because this has been a very collaborative process. And then if the next step to all of this, and there's a couple different steps, this is not going to be, at least it doesn't appear to be a one-time pot of funds. The next steps are going to be BEAD opportunities, which are federal dollars. There's a lot of dollars that are set aside to connecting broadband. There's a little bit more, it's looking like there's more flexibility there to where it's not just what you'd consider last mile, but if you put a solution in place to get households connected to broadband, and then you want to use a future round of funding opportunities to build that middle mile and increase speed and look at fiber and everything that comes with it, there's opportunities that are coming down the channel that will allow that, between the BEAD and the capital funds broadband grant, and then the next round of broadband opportunity funding. And so this is gonna be something that's probably in the next 5 to 10 years, where these funds are gonna, as long as we continue to build on that strategic vision, we can really do a lot of great things in Hendry County and have our residents and businesses not only connected, but we can have competition. And
You can cover the whole county.
so with this
80% of
initial
it?
round of funding, it would be approximately 80%.
80.
And that's just unserved. I mean, you're talking areas where if you have coverage in an underserved area, you can take advantage of being able to get connected through this process.
So you said Riverbend don't have anything?
No, sir. But it would be covered under this.
Fort, you know,
I bet I get more than she does.
do you ever talk to
I
Comcast?
think so.
We have.
You know what's crazy?
I've talked to.
How do you talk to them?
It's funny, they actually reached out to me because they were part of the local planning team discussions. in
They
Hendry
really
County.
talk to you?
They did.
You know,
but
there was an actual
well,
person.
It was a quick conversation.
Okay,
It was,
that
let me look
seems
in the
more-
computer, let me see what the numbers turn out to be, and then it was, sorry, we don't have any plans for Hendry County.
Okay,
And so,
that sounds more right.
and I'll close with this too, is that
And then they sent you a bill. Yeah.
the reason that the DEO is doing this approach is because we had a lot of large providers at the start reach out to us and want to provide services. They wanted to provide fiber to connect their Fort Myers hub to their Palm Beach hub. But at the end, it doesn't do anything for Hendry County. And so I think that the DEO saw that, and so that's why they really emphasize in the private dollars with this, and it's all with the goal of connecting homes. So you take those big players out, and to be honest with you, since they did that, I have not had a single conversation with any of the large providers. I couldn't
They
even get
don't
a call
want,
back from them.
not enough volume.
Excuse me a minute, Raymond.
Hey, Ryan.
Sir,
Yes, ma'am. Ryan, just to confirm, so we are going to support Jennifer Kukas's request for Glades Electric for their letter of support. Is that correct?
I think that we would be leaning towards that direction if the board's will was to allow the local planning team to provide a letter of support, letter of community support, that's where we would go.
Okay.
I think that you might have been copied on an email with some more data
Yes.
that came through this afternoon, and so I just need to look.
Yeah,
through
I
that.
saw the maps today.
Yeah, so we need to meet as a local planning team to look at that data to kind of hash everything out and make sure that it is what it is. And I'm not saying that there's any intent there. We just need to do our due diligence as a planning team. But I think it would most likely be the recommendation from the local planning team to support both projects. I think it's just a smart approach. There's no single phase approach with this that really makes sense for Hendry County. And so that would be our recommendation.
So Raymond, we have on the table motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Harris, for them to write a letter of a recommendation for both to support. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Anyone have any more questions? You have anything else that you'd like to add?
No, ma'am. If there's any questions that you all have from the gentleman that's in the room that is very
But you
interested
guys-
in providing services, you're more than welcome, but I do not have anything else. I appreciate
Give the
everyone's time.
gentleman from Golden Gate just the opportunity, if you'd like to speak.
Madam Chair, while he's coming, going forward with this, Ryan, almost the entire western half of the county are dead in the water when it comes to this stuff. Fort No Acres, you talk about Ever High, Montour, Pioneer, when you get out to, all the whole western side, Fort No Acres is almost dead in the water. You go around the curve out there where a couple of our employees work, they have no internet, basically.
Well,
And you got CenturyLink all over the place, and they aren't willing to do anything. AT&T, we have towers everywhere, but they're not willing to do anything.
yes, sir.
And they keep asking us more and more, can we put towers in your county? Can we do this? Can you serve the people in our community?
And I
They
think,
can't do that, and the answer from us needs to be no.
I agree with you, and I would also say that I think we're in a position communication-wise with the state where they see it as well. And so if you all are hearing from constituents that this is a problem, in the past, our hands have been really tied with some of this stuff. But now, if you tell me, hey, I've got these folks that are in these areas and they do not have anything, we can do something about it.
We have it. We'll definitely need to talk.
Yeah.
We 2 miles from the tower, from my house, and you have to go outside, or you have to go uptown,
Got an AT&T tower right in
and-
Murfreesboro,
right.
same problem.
And then, I did contact Washington, so I have an app, and it shows how long it takes for my data, to go through, but thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ryan.
We're gonna give the gentleman from Golden Gate opportunity. You state your name for me, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lou Elliott. I'm the CEO and founder of Streamline Internet. I'm very excited for this opportunity and appreciate the letter of support. I'll keep my time brief. I know that we have other items on the agenda, but I just want to say that this broadband crisis that we're dealing with across our country and specifically within our rural communities is something that's very near and dear to my heart. I was a consultant prior to starting my company and received my bachelor's of education, and all of that experience and knowledge that I gained, I was always told, Google it. We don't have time. I don't have time to teach you. We're short-staffed. Google it. When I learned that 25% of rural America goes without internet and is unable to teach themselves, to help themselves in our modern day and age, it's unacceptable. It's something that I find personally frustrating. It boils my blood, and it's something that I pride myself on trying to help our local communities. In Golden Gate Estates, Just within a year and a half of starting our company, we've connected 170 households. We could have done much more than that if zoning and permitting were more small business friendly within our county. That was part of the reason why we ended up working with Hendry County on this potential endeavor. So very excited and looking forward to this. There are many benefits that will come from this, and specifically, Mr. Turner, if possible, I'd like to have a talk with either you or someone from your team. Your district is by far the largest by land mass in the county. It is also the most difficult for us to size in terms of the need and the locations of those in need.
Well, I look forward to engaging that as well, because, I mean, like, I can just think of CMB Farms down 835, and how many times I've listened to Chuck Oburn, who has I mean, it's a large operation, and it's you know, serves the entire eastern seaboard, and there's just times where he's down, and when he's down, he's losing, you know, tens of thousands of dollars, if not more, you know, a day. And so this is something that's going to be a game changer for us if we can engage this. And then I can go right over here on that side of Highway 27 and give you examples of people that are down, and they have both serves, but, you know, both providers, excuse me, but they don't have the redundancy that's needed. So we need to engage this heavily.
Yeah, and the beauty of fixed wireless and hybrid deployments where we leverage fiber and wireless as a solution is that the majority of our deployment infrastructure is actually the antennas that go at the location, whether that be a home or a business. What that means is we are able, up until December 2nd, to be collecting more data points to add to our deployments, because our tower gear is a fraction of the cost of our deployment, whereas in a fiber deployment, it's the exact opposite. The fiber in the ground and the labor is the most, exactly. So the beauty of that is I'm more than happy to work with all of you to identify additional pockets of need. It's effectively about $2,200 per connection when factoring in tower cost, et cetera. And we can just be adding that on to the total households as a part of our grant application, meaning that regardless of how we determine our projects, at the last minute we can be changing our minds and just say, you know what, we want project A to actually be covering only Felda, and now we'll have a project E added to our repertoire because we already have all of the tower sites planned. We have coverage planned for a majority of the county. The challenge being your section south of, I believe it's 832.
Yeah.
That's like half your county, maybe a third of it.
Yeah.
And I have very few data points to leverage for there. So
right up to Broward and Collier. When you get that far south, people don't realize it's just there's nothing out there, and there's no ability to engage with the facility. So, Madam Chair, I'd like to request from you, and unless this is getting into proprietary information, but I'd like to see a presentation that gives us the ability to see if you deploy X device at the Fort Deneau Community Center or at the Pioneer Community Center, what does that coverage map now look like versus what it did before?
You want to see it right now?
I do not. I want, and the reason why I don't want to see it is because I think that this is so important that I'd like to see it in the form of a 6 to 10 point PowerPoint presentation for all of us to see, and then for you to come back and say, okay, I challenge this board to come up with X, regardless of what's happening, and then see how that now in turn it creates a ROI for our community. Because I remember challenging our board, and we were 100% on board, no pun intended, with supporting the ability for a young person to go to the Pioneer Community Center and get online and be able to do a term paper, right? A research paper. And we don't have that ability really. We're better than what we were, but we know for a fact that it's not what it could be in 2022, And so we have Wi-Fi.
But it doesn't project
Exactly.
out like
So
what you're talking about.
that's what I'm driving at. So that's it, Madam Chair.
We have Wi-Fi in the buildings, but it doesn't
Right,
project at all.
it's
Yeah.
not gonna
I
project.
think we all
it's
have
just
Wi-Fi
there.
in the building.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, when I was in Felda last night in a public meeting last night, and the Wi-Fi is nothing.
So public Wi-Fi is actually something that's allowable under this grant, and it's recommended actually, because it's another aspect of showing that we're investing in the community, that we're giving back to the community. It's something that we, as long as it's covered, the equipment's covered by the grant funds, we can offer that as a free service to the community, since it costs us quite literally nothing to deploy at that point.
Well,
Yeah.
Madam Chair, I'm ready to move on, but I'm excited about the conversation. So,
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for your time.
thank you.
Thank you.
I also think in my entire tenure as a commissioner, you're the first person that has ever labeled all of our communities correctly, and you can tell the spark in your eye, you know what you're talking about. So that's comforting in itself.
Business be laid with your end, okay?
Yeah, but the fact that he can tell you Harlem, and he's not scared to say it, number one, and he goes south of 832, nobody knows where the hell 832 or 835 intersect that ever in here, so. But he's from Golden Gate, so it all makes sense. He lives in the States.
Thank you so much. At this point, we're at the public hearing. If anyone wants to speak, I ask that you fill out a card for me, please, and we're gonna move on to Mark for the, original established for the Old Florida Community Development.
Yes, this is
Madam
the-
Chair, whose district is this? Is this Mitch or?
Mitch?
Mitch,
You have any issues, Commissioner?
And a representative of the CDD is present, Mr. DiNardo, in case
Well,
you.
I don't think we have a problem with it.
Nope, but it is a public hearing, and then you need to adopt the ordinance.
okay. You like to speak, sir?
No, if you guys are all in agreement,
You gotta make a motion.
This is a public hearing. Anyone else from the public like to speak?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Wells. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
thank you.
You're more than welcome. Mr. Mark, I believe you
Yes.
back up again.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to conduct the public hearing and adopt the attached ordinance associated with adding the Bob Mason Park. That's our goal, right?
That's the main goal, but then we did some cleanups.
In, on the time frame and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
and a couple other.
Second.
This is a public hearing. Anyone from the public wishes to speak at this time? Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Harris. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Going down to Mr. Mark again.
Yes, this first item under staff reports, the authorization to commence litigation against Brickell Aviation. I'm gonna have that pulled. It's turned out that there's two companies. One wants to leave and one wants to come in. They're both controlled by brothers, the Milan. I don't know if you know the Milans. One is with Brickell, the other one's with an incoming company. The one wants to move out of the hangar. The other one was the first on the list, waiting list to get into a hangar. And there was just a lot of confusion and lack of responsiveness on their part during most of this year as far as that transition, the one moving out and the one moving in. This letter that I sent and this scheduling this before you kind of got their attention, and one of their family members is an attorney. He called me, and we agreed that the incoming entity would pay all the rent that was delinquent for the outgoing one. And
What's the time frame, Mark?
so what we're asking is to have them, I've given them 2 weeks to get all that wrapped up.
Okay.
And then if they don't, then I'd said I'd come back to you in December to ask for permission to sue, but for now, we kind of stand down.
Mark, Ms. Madam Chair, I'm dying to know one thing. Are they parking a plane or are they running an operation?
Well, they're parking two non-flyable planes in there right now that they admit need to go. And then they have another plane that they want to bring in that's currently under repair. So they don't have their flyable plane ready yet, but I've told them they need to take care of that within a couple weeks or else we won't have a deal. So that's what I understand is
So
that
they're using it for a storage building.
it's kind of just a storage area right now.
Commissioner, there's a
Mark.
lot of, in my opinion, there's a lot of things that are going on out of Everglades. And Commissioner Iglesias, you attend all of the Everglades Advisory Board meetings, correct?
Yes, and it is my understanding, I got a call yesterday, it's my understanding is that guy's running a mechanic operation out of there, and plus they're not buying fuel. And, that's one of the things that's keeping those rents low is to push the fuel sales. So I know I can't vote, but I have an issue with this because I feel like we're just passing the baton to somebody else to run the same basic illegal operation that the first guy was running.
And so my question would be, what are our abilities to be able to actually investigate what's going on at the T hangars, and what is I thought the T hangars allowed for a plane to be stored, but I'm hearing through the discussion, the grapevine, if you will, that there's a lot of stuff that's not necessarily up to par out there.
Okay, so my understanding, and I don't know if Tommy, you have knowledge of this facility or not, but My understanding is that that hangar number 3, which is the hangar that the lease was in default on, that we're here about tonight, is mainly a storage. I've got a picture of it it's just got 2 planes that look like they don't fly, sitting there, and stuff, junk, or their materials, I guess you might say. As far as the repairs, I understand that there's another tenant, different tenant from these folks, I've been told by Ms. Rentz, is doing repairs on aircraft, which is not allowed. And she has started done a notification to them that they're in default of their lease in doing that, and they need to stop or face some legal action for doing repair work out of a hangar. So that's another tenant altogether, though. I don't know, Mr. Iglesias, if you know something else or what I said isn't correct about that. It's another hangar.
I'm just being told by 2 different tenants.
Yeah, but do you know if it's this hangar number 3 or one of the other hangars where the repairs are happening?
It is my understanding that it's this specific hangar. So I questioned that yesterday, and whenever I asked staff, they came back and said, actually, that's on your agenda, of us evicting them. And then now we're kind of flipping it.
What?
Yep.
And here's another thing. We went through the Jason Jacobs thing here recently, Carson.
Yeah.
Jason Jacobs has been a great customer for 12 years. Granted, it's time for his lease to be up. So we got to go out to bid. Totally support that as part of the process. I don't know. I just got a funny feeling about these people. They're not locals. They're from out of town. They've been doing some shady stuff. I would feel more comfortable just going through the original process of evicting them, and let's put it out to bid and put it out for somebody else. But we don't have the staff. Lily's not going to go out and monitor these T hangars to find out what somebody is or isn't doing, and then we got to depend on what other tenants tell us.
Okay, do you know anything, Tommy? Well, I don't know what you're saying. Hangar 3 is Brickell's hangar. What the only one you know of, in what way? That there's repairs happening there? Storing stuff. My understanding is Hangar 3, which we're here about, is a storage, non-flyable storage
All right.
hangar.
Mark, not to cut you off, I want to ask Commissioner Iglesias. Well, Commissioner Iglesias, listen, I hate government and I despise Big Brother probably more than anyone. I'm a giant conspiracist, right? Okay. But we also have a lease agreement with a number of tenants out there. What are the rules for us being allowed to assess what's going on out there and establish baseline? Because I'm going to tell you right now, there's no need to name names, but just I can think of a half a dozen people out there that park their plane. It's neater than anything I've ever owned in my life. You can eat off of the floor in those T hangars, and they're excited because they have an incredible deal with Hendry County, and they've been a tenant of ours for a long time. But we also have people that I think are taking advantage of the situation because of where we are, because of our lack of having staff to hover over you. And, we kind of have this business-friendly climate that's going on. But at the same time, we have some people that are not playing in the gray. They're playing 100% in the wrong. So how obtrusive would it be if we sent a letter to all of the tenants saying, we would like to have a come to Jesus meeting saying, we want to look in your hangar. We want to all be on the same page, and we just want to have a general housekeeping. Here's our list of things, and we want to do that. We want to do that in the first quarter of 2023. Why is that a bad idea? Because I hate getting calls from constituents saying, do you know what's going on? No, I don't know. I haven't been out to Everglades and rode my bike around and went and snooped in people's hangars, or even rode down around the square there and looked and seen that X plane is sitting in the middle of the hangars, the taxiway, and you can't get out. I haven't done that. I don't think that's my job as a commissioner, but obviously I'm wrong. I need to be doing that a lot more.
Yeah.
So,
well, I know under our lease we have a provision that allows access, allows us to access the hangars. I don't know what the frequency is that you or Lily.
Hey, Commissioner.
yeah.
1 minute.
I would suggest that we just go in and inspect if we have the capability of doing it. Because if you tell the tenant this is what we're going to do, if they are running a mechanic shop or they're just doing storage that they're not allowed to do, they're going to change. They're going to clean up.
Okay.
Just my thought.
Well, you know what, Raymond? That's Commissioner Iglesias. That's a great idea. But I want all 5 of us to be on board so there's no surprises when, somebody blows us up and says, "How dare you allow Tommy Vaughn to come out here and look at my hangar and see that I have a gas can in a facility?" and he writes me a bad note, you know, hey, guys, you know, it's just, we're just trying to bring everything into order, you know, and
You need to do it in LaBelle too.
I don't disagree with
As
you.
long, as long as the lease allows for it, I mean, they signed the document back when they leased it.
I don't know, I can kind of speak from experience, because I've been in a lot of these hangars, not recently, but a lot of times, a lot of them had cars and trucks and
And is
household
that
stuff and-
allowed? I don't think you're supposed to have a car in there, are you?
That was all what was going on,
That's
and
fair.
again,
I can't recall how long ago it was, but I know that Ms. Rentz did do some inspections, I would say within the last year and a half, maybe, that she did that, and so isn't that correct?
I think we should do inspections now, and as Commissioner Glacier said, why would we bring someone in that's gonna do the exact same thing we've been having problems with, and now we're gonna start the headache all over again?
Yeah, that's the
I
only
don't
thing,
agree
Mark.
with that.
You know, I'm all about you giving them the ability to get out of arrears, but at the same time, I almost wonder if this isn't just one that we need to start the eviction process and be done with them if they're a bad performer.
Same party, just switching people. It's
Yeah.
the same
Well,
people.
I'm gonna tell you right now, you're renting it to Carson, and Kenneth comes in and says, "Hey,
Well,
I'm just gonna take
yes.
over it, and we're gonna clean everything." And Kenneth telling a story. He gonna do the same thing that Carson was doing.
So I don't know these folks. Yeah, I'm just saying they are, it's two separate companies. The outgoing tenant and the incoming tenant are actually corporations, but they each are led by a man who happen to be brothers with each other. So one's Ernesto Malone, he's the one going out, and then Johnny Malone is the one coming in.
Where are they
It-
from, Mark?
I think they're from,
Brickell? I would have to say Miami-Dade.
yeah, I didn't look up their address, but, well, we mailed a notice to them. It was Miami.
Said the incoming was on the waiting list.
Yeah, they were on the waiting list as the number one next tenant to get a vacant hangar. So that's why we were going to them, not because they were related, but because they were the number one next tenant on the list to get a vacant hangar. And so that's why we were just moving down the list. And
How do
so
we treat locals? Shouldn't they have number one shot?
I don't know that we've ever had a policy on that, do
I don't know if we could either. I think
No.
that was probably built.
Was-
Whoever's in
Yeah.
order.
In
I would
LaBelle, you
think we
give
should.
priority?
I should be able to, we do it with cemeteries.
Well, that's a good point.
You're not a
But I
resident.
don't know, I don't know.
Okay, but I don't
if it depends
know
on
anything
how
about
the
the lists and
finances.
Everglades.
Well, that's
Where we got
true,
money from.
yeah, but.
So let me just sum up my comments on Everglades. Commissioner Iglesias, if y'all as a group want to start the eviction process, I just don't want to run up a large bill for the county over something that really shouldn't be a huge expense for us. Everglades T Hangar should be a profit center, and you know, with the lack of movement that we've experienced with the Everglades expansion, I think that we should be really looking towards any money that we're receiving. We should be looking at building more T hangars and get the blessing of U.S. Sugar, Sugar Hill, whatever that entity is known as right now, because those are profit centers. If we had more T hangars, we would have people in them
Just heard
yesterday.
the comment that you just said, that if they're not using the gas, that's the purpose their bill's so low, because of the offset from the gas. So they're not using gas, they're building.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And I think, you know, I just think that we need to try to bring these things into order, all of them.
Okay, how about, I recommend this, how about we just bring back to you
Yeah.
in December,
Let's table it.
table it.
Okay.
Bring back to you a lot more background on this whole thing, and then you can take action to accept the new tenant or
I like that.
not,
I like
evict
that, actually.
or not, clean up, the deal with the
All
one
right.
that's doing the repairs, which I think is another party not associated with these folks, but I'm not sure about that. I know that the name is different.
But
and-
even that in itself is probably legal. I don't know if you can sublease, you know, to a tenant, so we need to look at that.
Well,
And if
no, I mean
you
the-
are, you have to have the blessing of the county, so.
Well, no, what I mean, the second hangar where the repairs are occurring is a person. It's not a Milan. It's another person.
Oh, okay.
And it's not a sublease situation, but repair work in the hangar, other than on your own plane, minimal maintenance kind of work is allowed for your own plane. But if you're bringing in other people's planes and you're doing repairs, that is prohibited under our leases. And so there is a notice that Ms. Rentz sent within the last week or two to the mechanic saying, you need to stop. And then she just sent me an email today about some of his responses, and I'm sorry, that wasn't what I was here about tonight. And so I didn't really do anything with that yet. So how about in December?
I'll make a motion to table then, and we'll come back in December. Is everybody good with that?
Second.
Okay.
Motion by Commissioner Turner to table, second by Commissioner Harris. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, next item is to prohibit overnight parking in our parks, just a car
I
parking.
make a motion to adopt the attached resolution and authorize staff to advertise for a public hearing as it relates to Chapter 1-14, Article 3, to provide for the towing of illegally parked vehicles.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Wells. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Madam Chair, is this something that we've seen, that we've witnessed recently? Is
Yeah,
car
and it kind of relates to the one that was under the ordinances
Okay.
for the person that had the boat there and a vehicle there, and it was just
We had-
They still
staying.
there?
No, they finally moved.
They moved.
They went down to Pat's house.
Wow.
They just moved down the river a little bit.
That's awesome.
Oh, boy.
So terrible, but so awesome.
Okay, motion passed.
Ready for the third item?
Yes,
The,
we are.
Okay, so we have the
Okay.
EMS employee to authorize litigation to recover the money for the paramedic school tuition.
What do y'all, I mean, I don't know. This is such a tough one. We got time back. Ms. Davis, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I mean,
Are we setting a bad precedent? Is that why y'all wanting to go after it?
well, we've had a handful of them
Yeah.
that have left, and they sign a agreement that they'll pay back if they leave within a certain period of time, and then they don't, fulfill that obligation. And so we're going out a lot of money to, for them to be a paramedic from an EMT, trying to give them the opportunity, give us longevity, and they get their license and then they leave.
Well, I think you need to do it.
And so I think we should do it, because if not, everybody's gonna come here and think that we're gonna pay for their paramedic license and
Then-
then just leave.
Then they'll go to Collier County and get a better
How
job.
Board don't
long-
back off of it.
Commissioner
School board-
Harris?
School board, they recover their funds.
So, so here's my question for y'all though. So I'm not anti the process. What I'm saying is if we have forgiven it for anyone, when do you put your flag in the ground and say, okay, we're gonna start on the 13th or the 7th or, this one? I don't know how it goes, number one. Number two, is that contract, is it locked? I mean, is it,
I think it is. I
you
mean,
like it?
Yeah.
Okay, because we had to forfeit a handful of code enforcement liens that I recall. And I just want to make sure that we're not setting ourselves up to engage a process legally and then we kind of look silly. And y'all are saying we want to go after the full 5960.
Yeah, I'll make a motion for option one.
Okay.
How many years was it, Jennifer? That-
It's you
They
mean
were
for the
supposed to
payback?
stay, no, to stay. 2
2 years.
2 years?
Mm.
Anyway, I'll make a motion for option
Second.
one.
Motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Wells. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Let's ask one question. So we paid the tuition on 2018. And was she working for us on a part-time basis?
She was an EMT.
Okay, and then we put her through school for 2 years. She gets her license on 2020, and she's out.
She did a year and 3 months
Uh-huh.
after credentialing.
A year and 3 months
After
out of
cred-
24 that we needed. So she did. Okay.
Came out 9 months short.
Yes, sir. Okay. Man, that's a lot to go after. I don't know what the razor's edge are on these margins, but I understand the concept, and so we just need to be consistent. That's all.
All right, I do have one add-on. There was an email that went out to you today about it. It's on the Helms Road Land Exchange with Dwayne House and Companies, where we were doing that swap, to get right away and give him the railroad right away in exchange. It was supposed to close by November 29th. He still doesn't have things worked out with his conservation easement, so we're agreeable to do a 6-month extension. We think it makes sense for us. It's a good deal for the county. We would like to see it
You
happen.
need a motion?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the 6-month extension as it relates to the Helms Road.
Discussion? Shane, are we still gonna have the ability to go through there and maintain that canal? We give this right away away, that's part of that Sears MSBU canal. Are we gonna be able to get through maintaining it?
We're only given, the deal's only to give a portion.
And we don't maintenance it going north right now? Okay. Okay.
And just to be clear, you said approving the
6-month
six-month
extension.
extension, but it's actually, if you could approve the Second Amendment, that. the
Approve,
whole-
I make a motion, I'm sorry, to approve the Second Amendment to the agreement to amend easement and exchange real property.
Right.
Thank you, Mark.
Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Harris. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
That's all I got.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mark.
Mitch.
Well, Harris.
Mitch.
Either one, it doesn't matter. Both of them.
Just put no.
Put Mr. Harris, please.
Got to.
Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Harris. Thank you, Mr. Harris. He sometimes wants to be difficult. I just tell you, I don't know. I love it, though. Next, we have County Jennifer Davis.
Yes,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Gadsden has an AHAC report to present, or Emily, are you going to present it?
I make a motion to approve the attached annual report and submit before the December 31st deadline.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Harris. All in favor?
Aye.
That was easy.
So what are you gonna say now?
You can go ahead on Miss Emily, it's all right.
All right. For the record, Emily Hunter. Commissioner Harris's I sent an email earlier today with the draft document for the 2023 legislative appropriation requests. Our legislative delegation hearing is on December 5th, so that's before our next meeting. This is just to try and have a discussion about what we would like to request from the legislature next year. I did hand you a hard copy with a couple of additions. External and staff internally had some like to request more funding. As you all probably know, our state budget right now is probably ever been, and we would like to try and so if you would like me to through, or if you have any specific questions.
Oh, Port LaBelle.
The first two items are placeholders. We have DEP grants submitted for both of these items in totality. So for the wastewater treatment plant, we have a grant submitted for $38 million for the whole amount. And then $7.5 million for the Port LaBelle utility sewer line rehab unit 1. We have not heard back on those grant applications, and we don't have an estimated we would like to go ahead and submit for those projects, and then, like we did last year with the Force Main project, we pulled the item before it actually went. Next item is Port LaBelle Utility Septic to Sewer Conversion for units 2 and 3. So, obviously, that would be sequential order. If we are able to take care of unit 1, then we start working on 2 and 3, and that would be for the design phase of both.
Are we submitting, I mean, these are all, these are all legislative appropriation requests. Guys, I just want y'all to think, I mean, if we're going up there asking for 3 items in one area for an appropriation, I just wonder, we have our grant in on the federal side for X, and it's just state, we don't have one on the federal side as well? Okay, I just think that we need to, I don't know, maybe pull off one of those and look at just letting the grant process work itself out. And I don't want that to come across as anti, I'm just thinking,
We actually,
the appropriations, it takes a lot more juice than the grant.
we had 2, and then we added the third one today based off a recommendation of one of our consultants.
Okay.
Mr.
All right.
DeLisi actually recommended that we add to it because of the large amount.
The
of
dollars that are flowing.
Right, and so that's why we did it. So
And I can have another conversation.
I just don't wanna, I don't want to penalize ourselves in the grant process because they look at it as an appropriation request and we're looking at where the budget's going, you know, so, but obviously, I mean, that's what we hire those people for, so. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know how many times we've submitted on the cycle, so, and I know how many times it's been open, so. And then the last thing I would just recommend is the Fort Deneau Swing Bridge. I think that we should up that to 1.1, 1.3, somewhere in there, unless you disagree, Shane, because, I mean, I'm telling you that thing, with what commodities have done, even though they're coming down just a hair, yeah, I know, but I think the engineering teams that would want to design it, man, they can burn through 600K so fast it'll make your head spin. Yeah.
I agree with Carson, and remember, Senator Pasadomo is now the Senate President, and we should be able to get what we asked for, at least hope so, so we need to ask big.
And then we try to submit items to our lobbyists as well, sort of areas of concern or interest that we can find money for outreach and then
Yeah, I do. On community revitalization, Shane, we've got to do something. Hooker's Point extending past Evercane, and then Evercane going to like to Shamrock. The volume of people that are walking on the side of Hooker's Point Road, or walking through Red and John Road, and then walking down the side of Evercane, somebody's going to get killed. And we need to put that as a top priority on sidewalks. Like, you know, hey, Commissioner Harris is out, right? So I'm going to be the new sidewalk king. Okay?
I got you.
If we could put that up there, because it's, I mean,
It is. It's a
we've
lot of
been
traffic.
we've been lucky.
And they walk to school, so that's.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a reason,
It's school and work, you know.
because they're less than 2 miles.
And I
so-
think very quickly it would become a natural bus stop for the stream system too. So. Shamrock is, but I think they'll end up catching it down there a little bit further, Emily.
Did you talk to them about the homeless?
Well,
Anybody?
we've been having discussions with the St. Matthew's House, and so they're
Yeah.
very interested in partnering with us. We don't know exactly what that looks like right now. They're a little overwhelmed from, they've had some damage with the hurricane. We talked with them last week, is it last week or the week before last? It's all a blur since the last hurricane that we were very blessed that we didn't have a huge impact. So we're gonna let them get on their feet and see what's going on with them, but we're hoping to come up with some kind of partnership with them for our homelessness. They are really, that's where their heart is. They approached us with that to help Hendry County with that, so we've got a few ideas. And so we just, kind of want to get your blessing, your nod, because if there's some buckets of money that become available for something such as that, whether we apply or they might be able to apply as a nonprofit, and we
So
just,
then we just let her support or something.
yeah, and we just partner with them in any way we can. That's really a
Do
great
you
way to do
think they
it.
got room out there to do something like
Well, I
that?
don't think they want to do it there.
They wanna do it-
It would be a different location. It would not be, it
Needs
would
to
not
be
be at the
closer to
Oxbow.
town.
It would be somewhere in town, and we've talked about both sides of the county with our two cities that we have, and so we've got some potential opportunities that we might be able to work with them on.
I'm
And
going to say something that's not very popular at all.
Say it.
No, I got to say it because it's something that really, really irks the daylights out of me. You have to be careful in playing this fine line. The more you make services available, the more that community is attracted. We already have an indigent population that uses our emergency room, which I know is a huge, thing that you love, and it makes you warm and fuzzy, Commissioner Harris, that Henry Regional Medical Center and that tax bill every year. But guys, I think it's upwards of don't quote me, but I think it's, millions of dollars a year that we spend in indigent care through our emergency room.
Mm-hmm.
And we taxpayer.
70%.
Say again?
They told me they have 70% indigent care.
So the point I'm making is you have to be careful. I sat up here when Commissioner Taylor and the Florida Community Health Centers and everybody and their dog beat their chest because of the fact that we opened up 7 dental chairs, I think it was, at the Florida Community Health Center. Everybody thinks that's a wonderful thing. Once again, Chris and me the devil, but you know, what Dr. Van does for this community and for what our DDSs have done, and then you look at the fact that we don't have as many dentists as we used to have, but we have 7 chairs that are offering up free services. Well, we had to do that. Then we had to put a pharmacy in it. We have to put a pharmacy in it because it has to be convenient. Guys, if you keep making things available and you keep painting the picture that we're gonna give you a free handout every time you turn around, that's what you attract. And so I know that's not a popular opinion, but you have to weigh the good and the bad with that. And so I challenge us to really introspectively look at that. Absolutely, Ms. Hunter.
So I think our focus is not necessarily a homeless,
Mhm.
but just transitional housing.
Okay.
Getting those people to St. Matthews, and why we have these conversations with someone like that organizational structure. Housing for single moms.
They're putting you up on your feet, and giving you a handout, and getting you a job, and getting you into the system. Yep, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it's more of a rehabilitative,
Yep.
rather than
And
just a service for.
While I understand that it could attract more of those individuals, they're already here.
Yeah.
And so we need to do something.
They're here, but understand this, Commissioner Turner doesn't like whenever I'm sitting at a red light, and people say, oh, how can you say something so heartless? Well, okay, I'm callous like that. But I don't like it whenever.
I'm with you.
I don't like it when I'm sitting in State Road 44 and something else at New Smyrna, and, you know, you can see them working it. Them being the homeless people are working the process. And it taints it. It taints it in a very strong way. I'm not saying that's what the St. Matthew's House, I'm not saying there's a 100% correlation between this discussion and that. What I'm saying is we have to be cognizant of that. It's an uncomfortable place to be. People say, you know, oh, you can't say those types of things out loud. No, you can, and you need to, because if you keep giving it out, that process will find its way here, and we just have to avoid it. So I think that we have 2 very quaint, nice cities, and I don't think we need to try to mess them up.
So I'm gonna say this, I was always taught the poor is gonna be with us always. They're not going away. If they're less fortunate than us, I think we have a responsibility. I don't care who it draw. I think that we cannot close our eyes to them. I think that we just have to have a discerning spirit and be careful how we flow or how we go. But just to say, don't do anything about it, I disagree with it. Like I just said, they're gonna be with us always, because everybody's not as fortunate. It was 12 of us, and just fortunate that my family got a place. But everybody don't have that. So as a commissioner, I'll be wrong to sit here and say not do nothing. I do like the rehabilitation part where we want to help them to get on their feet. We said that we want to get people out of housing and get them from point A to point B. Well, they got to start somewhere. Somebody got to take responsibility, even if we don't give them nothing but a cup. I think that we have to help them get from point A to point B. Now, everybody don't want to be in the house. So I was working with some of the homeless, and when I got them to be able to go down to the housing that they made room for them, they begin to act like they would have mental stages. So that means they didn't want to be in the house. Everybody don't want to be in the house, but everybody don't choose their situation that they in. So I do feel like we have a responsibility as a county. We can't do everything for them, but I do think that we need to make sure we step in and help. Mr.
St. Matthew's House is not bringing homeless to your streets. They're getting homeless off your streets.
Good.
I sat in several meetings with them, and I was actually a part of their graduation 2 weeks ago as a pastor. I can tell you, I can probably put 80 men in here to tell you that it had not been for St. Matthew's, they'd be done. They'd be on the street. They would be dead. St. Matthew's got them off the street, got them involved. Most of these guys, when they go through the program, they are engaged in work. They're brought in, they're taught how to work, they're taught how to do those things. Before you really look down on St. Matthew's, I would challenge you to spend time with them and find out who these people really are, because they're an incredible group of people that are doing things not only in our community. Collier County, they have this home.
Yep.
And they're wanting to put one here. We need it. I can tell you that we go through, I'm not even exaggerating, we'll go through 100 people in a month that don't have a place to lay their head. We put them in hotels. We have had people approach us about buying a house and us run the house. What they're waiting on right now is for the price of actual reality of housing to come down. So there's a need. We can't turn a blind eye to the need, but these people are doing more than meeting a need. They are taking these people from the gutter and they're putting them in a livable situation. So St. Matthews is incredible. Anything they can do and we can back them to do it, I'm gonna sit here all and argue with everybody and say, we need to get behind them and push as hard as we can.
Well, actually, one of them was in my home, and he said if it had not been for St. Matthew, he was doing some work. He said he wouldn't be here. So there is some good. Sometimes you have to find it. So, you know, I hope that we
They're
find it.
top of the line.
They are.
I know people that we was trying to help, we helped got jobs, and when Joseph Project found the jobs for them, they was living in their cars or they was living in a tent. So there is a need, so there's no way to overlook it. So, you know, we just you gotta have a spirit of discernment and be able to discern, so.
Everyone is good with these requests. How they feel about multiple projects in one specific area. If not, we'll tweak things a little bit. These overall requests and then 1.2 million for the Fortunate Bridge.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I think that septic sewer is a hot thing, so I've been saying that for
They're
about 6
doling
years
out,
now.
they're doling out a
We
lot.
gotta get after it, yeah.
Thank you, Emily.
Thank you, Ms. Emily.
So this is a public meeting. Anyone from the public wish to speak? You'll come to the front, please. Thank you.
So I think that's just an easy add-on. I mean, everybody's good with that, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we've done that in the past, so
Yeah.
we do it every year, right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mr. Martin, what is it off the hip? 15?
14 and roughly, and we are expecting, hopefully, $3 million from Mario.
Awesome.
Oh.
And we'll be pursuing others.
Mr. Martin, do y'all have an in-house consultant or is it,
Yes, the same.
Okay.
engineering
All right.
that we used to get those numbers.
10-4.
We'll be presented.
Thank you. Once again, this is a public hearing. Anyone from the public wishes to speak at this time? Thank you. No old business. Before we go district by district, Commissioner Turner, you've been here the longest besides Mr. Harris. And Mr. Harris is gonna take a vacation so he can spend more time with his lovely wife. So I'm gonna give you the opportunity to say something to him as we want to present this plat to him. And I'm gonna give you the first opportunity to address him. 'Cause
Commissioner Harris?
He don't give me chicken, so I'm gonna let you talk. Just FYI.
Commissioner Harris, it's been an honor. It's been an absolute honor to serve with you. The conviction that you bring to the table, not just to the position, but for the protection of the people, for the betterment of this county, for generations to come, is second to no one. You know, you're the walking definition of a bell cow that puts it out there and says, this is how you do it. You know, I coached college football for 9 years. I guarantee you, you know, you're in that top 1% of athletes that it doesn't matter how you feel, how bad you feel, how good you feel, whatever, you come out there and you perform and you get it done every day. And you're a consistent human being. I have enjoyed aggravating you. Oh my goodness. And I can make you so angry, and I don't like it when I do that, but I've done it. And I learn from you so much. I think back to Commissioner Davis and some of the roundtable discussions that y'all had. It's just been an honor. I love you to death. I didn't know you from Adam's house cat until I got elected. I think I met you 1 or 2 times before I got my foot in the door. And it's just been so wonderful to see how you serve your people. You have a legacy. You have a legacy, young man. And then with what you do with that lady sitting in the audience and the energy that y'all bring together and the love and the example that you lead, it's a beautiful thing. So thank you for what you've done for this county. I love you to death. If I could ever do anything for you, you don't hesitate.
Will you answer the phone?
I'm gonna try. I joke all the time with people that say I can't ever get a hold of you, and the only person that I know that answers the phone as well as you is Doyle Turner. That's it. And I don't care what you're doing with Doyle. If that thing rings, he's picking it up, and your lights out with it. So I love you, boss.
Thank you.
I could echo a lot what Mr. Turner just said. Got a lot of respect for you. Worked for you many years, worked with you. It's always been an honor and a pleasure to be with you. The youth lives that you have changed in our county, I mean, it can be surpassed by none, all that you've done, the families you've changed the lives of. So again, I love you to death. We've had our hard times, we've argued a few times, and it's good that we can always smile at each other. I hold that honor and that respect for you, and I always will. So it's been a pleasure, Mr. Harris. I wish you the best going forward.
Thank you.
Commissioner Iglesias?
Yes, ma'am. Daryl, I want to say I'm sorry for not being there in person to share your last day, but I wanted to make sure you knew how much you meant to me. Since my days on the Insurance Advisory Board to coming before you on the TDC, but more importantly, serving alongside of you, learning how to be the best public servant we can be for the people of Hendry County. You, my friend, have set the bar. I'm going to miss the beginnings of our meetings when you and I would joke around about figure out which one of us was best dressed or had the coolest socks. And about now, Tracy's probably bringing you a little gift box to you. And I want you to read the sticker out loud, please.
The goat?
That sticker says, go ahead.
Gift for the goat.
The GOAT, baby.
The goat.
It's an acronym,
That's right.
greatest of all time.
Greatest of all time.
That's
Like
right.
high point
The
scorer at
greatest
the
of
Bill
all
Height.
time.
Oh, that's neat. That's nice.
Now I want you to turn the box over and open it up.
This was strong socks. We got our ugly mugs on there. That's awesome.
Who in the world found that?
It'll be the best pair of socks you ever wore.
Well, Mr. Harris, been knowing you for what, 6 years now?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, and you gave me a fit. But one thing I can say, you showed me love. You told me whatever I do to treat Herbert right, you wasn't concerned about nobody else. You wasn't even concerned about me, as long as I treated Herbert right. You called me an abuser and everything. You wouldn't feed me chicken. You didn't give me any meat, and I just loved it. But I want to say thank you. One thing you told me to make sure I answer the phone and to make sure I be truthful. So that I tried to do all that you asked me to do. I want to say thank you. I really appreciate you. Now that I can come to the house, we're going to bring our own meat when we come to the house. We're not going to settle just for the beans. But I want you to know we, as the county chairperson, we like to present this plaque to you for your years of service unconditional. Want you to know that we love you. And I'm not going to miss you because I'll be at your house. So, if you would go down in the front for me.
Oh, okay.
Is that good? You want to come up here? Come on up.
Okay.
I want.
Yeah, y'all get up there.
Why don't y'all take
Well, get one with you first. That way when you come to the house, you can have it on the wall for you.
We have chicken. We're going to have some chicken, right?
Right.
If you'll get in the middle for me, I'm going to let you get in the middle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, put him in the middle.
Okay.
Come on,
You want to use this one first?
No.
Yes, you
Okay.
We're going to open the floor to you. If you have anything you'd like to say.
Well, I said most of it at the last meeting. So I don't need to repeat myself. But
Why stop now?
Yeah, I was looking for, anyway.
But you really can't be a commissioner unless you have good people around you, staff. And we have the greatest staff. And I think, Roger Greer he's been here as long as I've been here, him and Jimmy. And then most everybody else is fairly new. I think Shane was the second engineer. Rock was first and Shane was second. But unless you have those people in the different departments, you can't be a good commissioner. And very seldom do they not do anything that you asked them to do. And you can't say that, about many people. And because I aggravate them a lot. And we got a lot of stuff done.
Really,
A lot of sidewalks.
Yeah, a few sides.
Well, I want to
And,
remind you that behind every good man, there's a good woman, so we thank you, Ms. Glenda.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, good family.
So we're gonna adjourn this meeting. We say thank you. We appreciate you for your service.
Okay.
And you're not gonna quit. I hope you get the other guy to do something, okay? Don't interfere.
Yeah, he's here. He's here tonight.
So he'll be coming aboard. I really don't even know you, so you stand up so I can at least see what you look like.
Stand up, Rowdy. Yeah. Yeah.
I've been really blessed also, like Mr. Harris said. After the election, I had the hard work, and it's been a blessing to me. I just can't. I know I won't ever be able to fill those shoes.
He told me you had a good heart. Ain't that something?